everyone, welcome back to Beauty in Crime and this week's episode. If you're new here, my name is Maddie. I will be doing my makeup and talking to you about a true crime case. I want to start off by saying I mean no disrespect for anyone that I'm talking about in this case. I did my research, got information off the internet, and put it into one video. I want to give a disclaimer before we get into the story. Viewer discretion is advised. This case is not for everyone. We will be talking about murder, death, and graphic crime scenes. Today we are going to be talking about the horrific death and unsolved tragedy that ended a woman's life far too soon. Yes, today is a unsolved case and it will leave you sitting here with so many questions left unanswered. This case will be traveling to Orangeville, Ontario in Canada, which is not far from where I am. This case is one that has everyone left wondering what really happened. In today's case, we will be talking about the missing and death case of Sonia Varaschin, who first disappeared on August 30th, 2010 in Orangeville, Ontario. Sonia Marie Jenny Varaschin was born on July 16th, 1968, to father Attilio and mother Michelle Varaschin, making her 42 years old at the time of her death. Her birthday was only just a month before she went missing and ended up turning up dead. Sonia is remembered as a loving, kind, beautiful, bubbly person. She was absolutely full of life and she loved spending time with her family, mother Michelle, father Attilio, and brother Vev. She was very happy. She could do anything she put her mind to. She absolutely loved traveling, reading, and she loved to be around children. She was just somewhat of a quiet person who didn't lead a risky life. She really enjoyed spending her time either working, skiing, hiking, just doing anything she found was enjoyable. Sonia loved her job. She worked for years at many hospitals as a pediatric nurse. She loved working with children and spending time doing what she enjoyed. Right before Sonia's untimely death, she switched her career path and started working as a pharmaceutical rep for a company and was set to start work on the Monday, August 30th, 2010, but she never showed up to work that morning. Her family had just saw Sonia the day before the Monday that she went missing. Her family has said that she seemed like she was in good spirits. She just seemed like her regular self. Sonia's mother remembers differently. She has said that Sonia was in a funny mood that Sunday when she went to visit her parents and her brother and wasn't really feeling like herself. So she told her mother she was just gonna go head back home to Orangeville and that she needed to study as she was starting her new job the next day. She walked out the door, said goodbye to her family, and that was the last time they would see their daughter alive. On Monday, August 30th, 2010, the police were alerted to a suspicious vehicle parked downtown Orangeville by Alexander Park. They showed up to check it out, and this is when things took a dark turn, and they knew this was possibly going to be a homicide case. Now, Orangeville is a small town, although things have happened in the town, nothing quite this intense. So the Orangeville Police Department decided to call in the OPP, which stands for the Ontario Provincial Police, to help them out with this case. A white Toyota Corolla was found abandoned behind a set of stores downtown Orangeville. When they approached the vehicle, they knew something was not right. The back bumper of the car had blood smeared all over it, and no one was inside of the car. It was just left there. They ended up running the license plates and the ownership, which would then lead them to who the car belonged to. And this is when Sonia's name popped up as the owner of the vehicle, which she was nowhere to be found, and the car scene didn't show any signs of forced entry or theft. They then went to her address to check and see if she was home, and when they got there, they were faced with another devastating crime scene. When they arrived to Sonia's townhouse complex on Spring Street, they found a large blood stain on the front porch, and when they entered the house, they found another large amount of blood inside. This is sadly when the case went from a missing persons case to a homicide. The amount of blood they found and evidence of the attack unfortunately showed that Sonia was not going to be found alive. After taking evidence and analyzing the crime scene at the townhouse in Orangeville, the police believe her killer would have left the scene covered in a large amount of blood. Now, this is where things get very complicated and very hard to understand why no one saw anything happen that day. It honestly shocks me. Just 6 days after the disappearance of Sonia, on September 5th, 2010, a man was walking his dog on a side road and found the body of Sonia. She was found a few hundred meters beyond the bend along the dirt road near St. Andrews Road in Caledon. This was only 13 kilometers from her home, where the police entered the horrific bloody crime scene. For 6 days, she was missing, and her body laid there, and if not for the man and his dog who found her, she may never have been found. The dog was able to pick up the scent and headed 5 meters off the road and led his owner to this horrific scene. Investigators said she was wrapped in a bed sheet and dragged out of her own home. It seemed whoever had killed her was trying their best to make her body disappear, but they did a very sloppy job with covering the evidence. After her murderer left her in the woods, they drove he took her car back to Orangeville and left it and parked it behind a business before they disappeared, not ever to be found again. This case is just so frustrating because this person murdered her and they just walked away like it was nothing. They're just gone. Later that day at around 8:30 a.m., the car was noticed by workers due to the clear blood stain on the back bumper, and they reported it to police. Now, what I don't understand is how no one saw anything happen. None of this. The killer would have had to move her body from the house, take her car all the way to the next secluded town over, and then return to Orangeville downtown and just abandon the car. He drove her car and just abandoned it, and to this day, nobody knows who it is. I just don't know how no one saw anything suspicious happen that day. Someone could have seen the killer coming out of her house or parking the car behind the businesses. It could have been caught on someone's surveillance footage. This is why the police are begging anyone to come out and come forward regarding the day of August 30th, 2010. An update on the case was the OPP revealing for the first time that they had actual video footage of what they believe to have been her car in the early morning hours on August 30th, traveling in Orangeville, but have not shared the footage. The OPP are withholding a lot of what they have found in this case because it is an open case. They don't want to share too much information to the public at this time. This includes her family though, sadly. The one thing that has devastated Sonia's family is that they haven't even been told how their daughter died. The investigators have said they don't want to compromise the investigation, and this angers Michelle, Sonia's mother, rightfully so. She is shattered with the death of her daughter and does not know anything besides from that she was murdered. In January of 2020, the OPP released a video in hopes the behind the scenes look could help spark new tips from the public that could help solve this case. This footage I'm going to show you now is to be believed at the time of the murder in front of her house, 2 possible witnesses. Now, to this day, nobody has come forward about the surveillance footage. No one has said it was them. No one has came out as a witness to seeing anything that morning. A $500,000 reward authorized by the province of Ontario remains in place for the information that leads to the arrest and conviction of Sonia's killer. So I'm editing my video right now and just wanted to point out that it's actually supposed to be $50,000 reward and not $500,000. Yeah.
I made that mistake.
There has been thousands of tips to this day. The public has been great with helping out and sending in their tips. Anything to do is helpful right now at this point. And trying to get involved. She was a daughter, a sister, a nurse. She worked hard and she lived her life. The police believe that people see her as someone who was brutally murdered and want to bring justice to Sonia and her family. Someone had to have returned Sonia's car that day, so they were sitting in her vehicle and touching things inside. They tried their best to find enough DNA in either her vehicle or on her body that was found, but unfortunately, she was found after the weather was very hot and had rained a lot, so her body was left in such poor condition. She laid there in the bushes for 6 days before she was found, and the DNA was obstructed. It was very hard for them to find any evidence. However, they did find a small enough amount of DNA they could put through their criminal database. Sadly, though, this led them to another false lead. The DNA did not come back as a match to anyone, meaning the person who did this crime must have not had their DNA taken before, so it's not in the database. Now, because this case is back in 2010, technology of science behind finding DNA matches has changed remarkably in the last 11 years. So they are still finding a way to use that DNA sample they have and test it and take it apart and try their best to find a match. They still have hope that they are going to be able to find this killer with this DNA. Since 2010, there has been a specific investigation team assigned to this case, and they will continue to fight to bring justice to Sonia. They're trying to catch the killer and get this family the justice they deserve and they desperately need. Sonia's mother had said in an interview that she hopes that they catch who did this to her daughter before she dies and doesn't get the answers that she needs. To this day, there is no answer to who murdered Sonia on the day of August 30th, 2010, and the case will not be closed until it is solved. The investigators on the case have said that they are going to find who did this and they are not going to give up. There's so many questions left unanswered in this case, and I really can't stop thinking about them. For example, could the killer have been from Orangeville? Maybe he parked his car somewhere near where he dropped off Sonia's car after dumping her body in that field. Like, is there no surveillance footage of anybody showing suspicious behavior around where her car was? Maybe getting into their car and driving off fast. Do they know this area, specifically Orangeville or Caledon area, or are they from somewhere else? Was this premeditated, or was this a random attack that unfortunately happened to Sonia, not even knowing this person? Was it an ex-boyfriend? Was it someone that she knew really well? Or there's so much that we do not know, and it would be nice to know who the police have ruled out and who is a suspect. Now, the police did confirm with the DNA that they found on Sonia's body that this person was a male who attacked her, and that helps them narrow down at least a little bit. The police believe that he could have possibly came from the bushes behind her home. The neighborhood was somewhat kind of hidden away with a forest behind them. The forest behind her house had a path that led directly to downtown Orangeville. Is that how he got away? Is that how he snuck into her house and randomly attacked her? Or is there another explanation behind it? That is it for the case today. I know it leaves you with many questions unanswered, and if you or someone you know has any information, anything possible about the murder of Sonia, please call the number that is on the screen and let the police know. I hope that Sonia's family gets the news they need to hear and peace is brought to them about their daughter. If there is any new updates on this case, I will be sure to do a follow-up video. I would love to know what you guys think happened to Sonia the morning of her death. Give me a comment below your opinion about this case. If you were wondering what I did with my makeup look today, I will put the details down below and I will link all the products I used. Thank you so much for joining me today for Beauty and Crime. Please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I will see you every Friday for Beauty and Crime Fridays.